Viva Bolo Hare Hare Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva Bolo Hare Hare Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva Narasimha Vamana Srimadusudhana Rajendra Nandana Shyama Narasimha Vamana Srimadusudhana Rajendra Nandana Shyama Putana Gatana Kaita Bashyatana Jaya Dasarathi Rama Putana Gatana Kaita Bashyatana Jaya Dasarathi Rama Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhora Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhora Ravana Thakura Makana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastrahari Ravana Thakura Makana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastrahari Brajera Rakala Gopa Vrindapala Chita Hare Vamsidhare Brajera Rakala Gopa Vrindapala Chita Hare Vamsidhare Yogendra Bandhana Shri Nandanandana Rajajana Bhayahare Yogendra Bandhana Shri Nandanandana Rajajana Bhayahare Navinane Radha Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamsi Vihare Navinane Radha Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamsi Vihare Yashodanandana Kamsa Nishudana Nikunjarasa Vilase Yashodanandana Kamsa Nishudana Nikunjarasa Vilasi Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrindavipina Nivasi Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrindavipina Nivasi Ananda Vadana Premani Ketana Pulasharayo Jakakama Ananda Vardana Premani Ketana Pulasharayo Jakakama Gopangana Gana Chita Vinodhana Samasta Guna Gana Dhama Gopangana Gana Chita Vinodhana Samasta Guna Gana Dhama Yamuna Jivana Kili Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Yamuna Jivana Kili Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Namashuda Rasa Goa Krishna Yash Rako Vachana Manamora Mashudarasa Goa Krishna Yasha Rako Vachana Manamora Vipavari Shesha Aloka Provesha Nidrachari Uttajiva Vipavari Shesha Aloka Provesha Nidrachari Uttajiva Bolo Hare Hare Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva Bolo Hare Hare Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur Hari Bo. Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur Hari Bo. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Srila Prabhupada. For Premanande Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Daivim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nasta Praeshu Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. We're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, text number 35. Rishim Adyam Na Buddhinam Papiyam Tvam Rajaguna Yanmano Mai Nirbadam Praja Samsrijyato Apite Rishim Adyam Na Buddhinam Papiyam Swam Rajoguna Yanmano Mai Nirbadam Praja Samrijyato Pite Rishim Adyam Sahagana Lalitu Passion Rajagun. So the Lord assures Lord Brahma, creation requires that kind of effort. And we certainly saw that in the case of the Krishna consciousness movement. To put a lot of effort into the Krishna consciousness movement to get it rolling, to get it going. Prabhupada really worked like anything, constantly traveling all over. 14 times, yeah? Okay, so going around visiting the different centers from one country to another. And he said, the jet age, he's a jet age Paramahamsa, Prabhupada said. So Prabhupada was traveling and at the same time then writing books, writing so much, up in the night, and he hardly sleeping, waking up and beginning his writing to. And we were behind with the publishing. So Prabhupada got very disappointed with their efforts to publish the books. And he gave them an ultimatum that they had to get it all published. And he gave them like a time date when they had to do it. And it took a lot of effort. All the different artists from all over the world, they were all called to Los Angeles, where the BBT was based at that time, and the artists were all there, and they had to paint pictures to go with the different scenes which were described in the Chaitanya Charita. And so they were constantly working and then the typesetting, of course it wasn't as sophisticated in those days as it is today. It took a lot of effort. And so there were so many people involved, and they had to edit everything. They had to everything, to do a lot of work. And so if Prabhupada hadn't have done that, then we don't know when the books would have ever been published. The TOVP, began many years when, although they say, we want to open by this date, but we don't know if it can really happen. Things, and Prabhupada's Samadhi was like that for a while also, particularly in Mayapur, the Pushpa Samadhi finished, they didn't have funds, and then finally Tamal Krishna Maharaj had to go to Ambarish Prabhu and ask Ambarish if he could sponsor the necessary funds to complete the construction in the Mayapur Samadhi. And Ambarish gave $1 million or something like that, so that the whole thing could be completed. So, but initially, to get something going, like what Srila Prabhupada did, you know, it's similar to Lord Brahma at the time of the creation. Lord Brahma at the time of the creation, he has to create the bodies of the living entities. Of course, the gopis, they criticize Brahma. You know, you give us these eyes which are blinking. So naturally, because there's so much effort required in the beginning of the creation, so things will not be very perfect. Mistakes will be made. And gradually they have to be adjusted. Just like in our Krishna consciousness movement. You know, you could say mistakes were made. We did some things maybe which were not very good, which didn't get us the best image in the eyes of the public. But somehow it all got started and things started to happen. And the movement began to go. We've done it exactly the same way. Prabhupada's principle was, you just print the books and everything will come. And Srila Prabhupada based everything on the instructions of his spiritual master. And that is the criterion for success, that you have faith in the words of the spiritual master. Yashya deve para bhaktir yata devi tata guru tashaiti prakitahyata. Of Godhead and the spiritual master, then all of the purports of the scriptures are revealed very easily. We will inquire from the audience, you know, do you have more faith in Guru or more faith in Krishna? And then some people will say, no, I have more faith in my Guru. And then somebody else will say, no, I have more faith in Krishna. But the correct answer is that we should have equal faith in both Krishna and in representative of Krishna. So when we have that kind of faith, then everything is revealed. And Srila Prabhupada certainly had that kind of faith in the instructions of his spiritual teacher. That whatever his spiritual teacher told him to do, he did it without fail. And that was why Prabhupada was so successful. Whenever you got money, use it to print books. And by printing books, then everything came about. The preaching would go on. That's the real mission of the Krishna consciousness movement. We're a preaching foundation. We're meant to preach. We're comfortable in our little temples and sit and chant in front of our deities, and people may come and see the deities and give some dakshin. That's not the best. That's not the highest mood of devotional service. But the higher principle is that we want to give Krishna consciousness. We want to go out and share the message of Lord Krishna with everyone. And of course, doing these kind of things like preaching and book distribution, you can easily get influenced by the mode of passion. And just like Lord Brahma's creating, it's going to take a lot of energy, effort, and when you're really getting into something, you can become quite passionate. Sometimes you go in the kitchen, you know, and you have to have a little bit passion to get in there, especially if you're cooking a big quantity for many people, maybe Rathi Atra or something like that, and you're cooking quantities, you can get quite passionate sometimes in there, especially they say, come on Prabhu, you got to get the offer, it's time for the offering, and and you've only got 10 minutes to get everything ready. You have to get passionate to finish everything, to make the offering in time. So the mode of passion is always there, and the mode of passion, sometimes today people think the mode of passion is something attractive. They think it's, oh, you know, this is something where we enjoy. In an airport, oh, it was in Malaysia, I remember, just in the airport there in Malaysia, and I saw there was a restaurant that said, come and taste the passion. So you can understand the nature of the food. Rajagun, you know, Rajagun, the passion. And then, of course, when they advertise motor cars, they will always say, feel the passion. Get behind the wheel, put your foot on there. This is a word which appeals people, unfortunately. But from the Bhagavad Gita, we learn that the result of the mode of passion is distress. We have to be very careful. Happiness in the mode of passion. In the beginning, it's like nectar, but quickly it becomes distress. That is happiness in the mode of passion. Happiness in the mode of goodness, in the beginning, it's difficult, it's even unpleasant, but slowly, gradually, it can become pleasing. So we have to understand the nature of this mode of passion and how it can degrade us. And we have to be conscious of that in performing devotional service. Just like Lord Brahma, as the creator, not exactly creator, but the sub-creator, he's doing the secondary creation. Initial creation has been done by Lord Vishnu, who created all the elements of the material nature. But Lord Brahma is like the engineer, and he takes everything and puts it together. So secondary creator. And still, creation is going on. He has everything in its proper place and arranged for all the bodies of the living entities. So he has a big job, and he has to be careful. He doesn't get too much. Think about things. They ask us to do this service. Oh, you know, I don't think I want to do that service. I'll get too passionate. You know, you can get too much influenced by passion. That is something. That's the mode of passion, something. It's not the mode of goodness. Goodness, as devotees, we aspire to come to be like Brahmans. The Brahmana is supposed to represent the mode of goodness. But of course we don't just simply want to be Brahmins, we want to go on to become Vaishnavas. And that means ultimately to transcend even the mode of goodness, to come to the transcendental platform. But we shouldn't shy away from the passion. The problem with the mode of passion is that for most people who enter into the mode of passion, they degrade to the mode of ignorance. So from Rajagun, it becomes Tamagun. They degrade themselves, they fall down into the darkest ignorance, become completely overwhelmed by the situation. The situation doesn't work out as we expect, and we get very angry and very disappointed and bitter, and that lamentation, all of these things take us into the mode of ignorance. So from the mode of passion, we want to elevate ourselves up to the mode of goodness. We know this earth planet is situated in the middle of the universe. The upper regions of the universe are more of the mode of goodness. The demigods, where they live, it's much more of the mode of goodness. And the lower regions, the subterranean heavenly planets and the hellish planets, It's all the mode of ignorance. This earth planet is in the middle of the universe, so there's the influence of passion. And living in a city, in an urban atmosphere, it's very much mode of passion. A lot of activity, a lot of desires, a lot of attachment to achieving results. Just like Garangi Mataji, she's a school teacher, and she was explaining of some of the situations which they go through during the exam time. The young children, not even so young, but teenagers doing exams when they come to do O-levels and A-levels. The stress is so great. There's so much in anxiety to deal with the students. There was one suicide case, attempted suicide. And there were other cases where the children just break down emotionally. It's just so stressing for them. The whole education system is just simply putting stress on people. It's meant to elevate people, to give people knowledge, to give them a better life. Education is meant for helping people cultivate character, qualities, but instead, you know, the type of education which is offered today has a very different effect. It just simply puts people into so much stress, anxiety, the pressure which is on them. Of course, the pressure coming especially from the parents, that the parents want their child to. So there's so much passion. The desire to do better than another, to achieve something better than others. So that mode of passion is certainly a dangerous thing. However, Lord Brahma, he has to generate progeny, and of course, you want to generate progeny, there has to be some passion there. If you're too much in the mode of goodness, you never have any children, right? You'll just be, your wife will divorce you or something if you don't have that passion, if you don't have that mood to give children, to produce. The marriage is not successful. So the mode of passion has to be there, but you have to be careful not to be too much controlled by it and not to be degraded by it. That passionate nature has to be dovetailed to the service of Lord Krishna. Just like in Krishna consciousness, we don't restrict people from getting married and having children, rather it's encouraged. There are other spiritual movements where they want strict celibacy, no marriage, or even if you're married, no contact with your wife, no children. They expect that. And if you will go the other way, then you didn't follow straight, you're not good, you're no good, you're rejected. But in Krishna consciousness, we encourage people to enter into family life and have children and bring up in Krishna consciousness. That is part of devotional service. But of course we have to be careful not to be overwhelmed by the mode of passion. Problems will be there, difficulties will be there. We always have to be careful to keep ourselves away from passion and ignorance. We want to come up to the mode. The mode of goodness purifies us and gives us knowledge. But we don't want to just simply remain there. We want to transcend the modes of nature. And in order to do that, we have to connect our activities to the service of Lord Krishna. So Lord Brahma naturally would be worried about his task, that he may degrade himself. But the Lord is ensuring him, no, it will be okay. You won't fall into the mode of passion. The example was given in the purport. Srila Prabhupada mentions how there was Brahma Vimohan Lila. In the 10th canto, you had Lord Brahma stealing away the cows and the cowherd boys. Lord Brahma had come and he'd seen Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, sitting in the forest of Vrindavan with yogurt and rice in his left hand and eating. And he thought, this is supposed to be my Lord and Master. How could this little kid be my worshipful Lord? So Lord Brahma wanted to see some work of the personality of Godhead. So he stole away the cows and the cowherd boys. Lord Krishna had actually gone to look for the cows. He had left the cowherd boys while they were all taking prasadam, and he went to look for the cows who'd gone astray. So at that time, Lord Brahma came and stole away all the cows and the cowherd boys. And when Lord Krishna returned, they'd all gone. And so Lord Krishna could understand this is the work of Brahma. This is Brahma's doing. So Lord Krishna then, by his mystic potency, expanded himself to take the place of all the cows and all the cowherd boys. And the result was that when they went home that night, the mothers of all the cowherd boys had more love than ever for their children. And the cows were giving so much affection for their calves, much more than usual. So this indicates to us that the person who everyone really loves is Krishna. The person who is most dear to everyone is Lord Krishna. Not only in the human species of life, but in all species of life. It's Lord Krishna who is the most dear person to every living entity. And so for 1 year, this went on. Lord Krishna was taking the place of all the cowherd boys and all the cows. And it was during this 1 year that the marriage of all the gopis was arranged, because all the gopis had performed Katyayana Vrat. And they were performing Katyayana Vrat with the purpose of getting Lord Krishna as their husband. So Lord Krishna wants to satisfy their desire. So he arranged, it was during this 1 year when Lord Krishna was playing the part of all the cowherd boys. At that time, all the gopis were married, and they were all married to Krishna. But, of course, it was Krishna in the form of another cowherd boy. And so this was all Krishna Lila. And this 1 year of Brahma, 1 year on this planet, this was one moment of Brahma's time. So Brahma came back, and he was surprised to see that all the cows and all the cowherd boys were all there. And Brahma was thinking, I thought I had stolen all the cows and cowherd boys. How could they all be there with Krishna? So Brahma came closer, and then Lord Krishna revealed that all the cows and cowherd boys were actually the Lord himself. The Lord revealed the super soul in the hearts of all the living entities, and Lord Brahma could see the Lord, and he could see all the living entities offer their obeisances to the Lord. So Brahma became completely overwhelmed in seeing the potency of Lord Krishna. So the Acharyas point out, this is not the mode of passion, but this is the work of the internal potency. The internal potency of the Lord could not be understood by Lord Brahma. It wasn't that he was influenced by the mode of passion in that particular case. But what did happen was the Lord used his internal potency. And Brahma could not understand it. Without the mercy of the Lord, no one can understand his internal potency, his antaranga shakti. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna speaks about how the devotees are under the protection of what is it? Mahatmanastamam parta daivim prakritim ashritaha. The great souls are under the protection of my divine energy. So daivim prakriti, this is the antaranga shakti, the internal potency, and that protects the devotees. So Lord Brahma, he witnessed the internal potency of the Lord, but he was not able to fully appreciate it. It bewildered him, it was overwhelming for him. But the Lord tells him, if you do the work of creation, you won't be influenced by the mode of passion. You'll be, the Lord is giving that promise to Brahma. So sometimes in the course of doing devotional service, we do become influenced by the mode of passion. So that's an indication that we've forgotten Krishna. And we have to situate ourselves very carefully above the mode of passion and ignorance. As devotees, we don't want to be passionate people. Rather, we want to be saintly. We do want to be peaceful and sense-controlled. And the mode of passion is for the non-devotees. There's the nice pastime where Srila Prabhupada was traveling in the airplane, and there were some people in the airplane and they were smoking cigarettes. So they asked the people, you know, this is a non-smoking flight, could you please not smoke? And they put out the cigarettes. But then a few minutes later, they lit up the cigarette again and started smoking. So the devotee who was serving Srila Prabhupada got very irritated by this, and he got up and he was about to go over there and, you know, really confront them and make a case about it. But Srila Prabhupada restrained him. Srila Prabhupada held him back and said, just sit down, just calm down. He said, if you cannot tolerate, then what is the difference between us and them? And so Srila Prabhupada was indicating that there is a difference between devotees and the non-devotees. And the difference is that we should be tolerant, we should not be influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance. We should be sense-controlled, and controlling the senses means also controlling the mind. This is very important for us. And how do we develop that control of the senses and mind? Simply by faithfully chanting Hare Krishna mantra daily. If we make a program to every day to chant the holy name, a minimum of 16 rounds, and at the same time also perform some worship of Lord Krishna and try to read the books about Krishna consciousness, then certainly we will develop a peaceful mind and we will develop control over our senses. Senses, the most difficult sense to control being the tongue. And as we say every day when we say the prayer, of all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and difficult to control. It is very difficult to conquer over the tongue in this world. You, dear Lord Krishna, have been so kind, you have given us this nice prasadam. So this is the key to controlling the tongue. And by controlling the tongue, we can control the senses also. We want to take Krishna prasadam. We don't want to eat just any kind of food here and there. We certainly try to avoid eating out We know in Singapore, very, very common people to eat out, right? I've been given figures like maybe 98% of the population of Singapore eat out, particularly on the weekends. And people even think it's a joy, it's a pleasure to go out and eat. But for a devotee, this is not really what we want. Of course, we can come to the temple and eat prasadam. That's going out. You come to the temple. But don't go out to the restaurants. Don't go to these places where they have all kinds of people cooking. You may think, no, it's vegetarian. It may be vegetarian, but vegetarian? Do the people who cook, are they also vegetarian? Often you get people working in restaurants. They may be vegetarian restaurant, but they're not vegetarian. And so you eat food cooked by people who are meat eaters, you will also get karma. You'll be influenced. The point is, we want to avoid the mode of passion. We have to be very careful about these activities. What we eat, the type of foods we eat, it certainly affects us. The places where we go, the environment, the things we do, they will all influence us. You watch Bollywood movies, or you watch the town movie, or whatever movie, and certainly there'll be a lot of passion there. People make movies, they have to put passion in it. They won't get any customers for their movies if they don't have all that passion there. But for the devotees, it's not the kind of thing we want to cultivate. Rather, we want to avoid these things. We want to avoid the passionate environment, the passionate situations. The more you're influenced by passion, then the more likely it's going to come, the distress will also come. So Krishna conscious lifestyle is to cultivate the mode of goodness. And that is why Srila Prabhupada often encouraged the devotees in simple living and high thinking. The more we have the sophisticated living, then the more our thinking will be influenced. It will be low thinking. Rather than high thinking, we'll simply think about sense gratification. We'll simply be influenced by the material energy. So Krishna consciousness is very practical. There is a philosophy, and we have to apply that philosophy in the lifestyle, in our daily life. People may read Vedanta, they read books on philosophy, they sit in armchairs and they drink cocktails and smoke cigars, and they may talk about Vedanta. That is meaningless, of course. But in Krishna consciousness, when we speak from the scriptures, we want to speak also in relation to our own lifestyle, to our own way of living, that we do want to live according to these scriptures. We want to live peacefully and satisfied, and at the same time we should be satisfied. Not that we have to live on a level lower than everyone else. We should live as other people live. And we make use of things like motor cars and technology. We're not against these things, but we try to use them all for Krishna. Using them all for Krishna is important. That the consciousness which we do everything. As Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Instruction, everything depends on the attitude which we have in performing the activity. Are we doing it just like the mode of passion? You do things for your own pleasure. You want to enjoy. You want the name and fame. You want the respect. You want glory. We're looking for recognition. That is the mode of passion, right? People are playing football, right? The World Cup is going on now, right? So there'll be a lot of passion going on there. People all looking for their name and fame. Competition, it promotes a lot of passion, but at the same time, in the spiritual world, there is also competition. And Srila Prabhupada encouraged us with competition. When we had the Christmas marathon to distribute books, Srila Prabhupada encouraged it. He thought, yes, very nice. Let everyone be engaged in preaching and distributing books. So you may say, well, that's encouraging the mode of passion, but it's dovetailing everything to the service of Krishna. That devotees are all caught up in the mode of book distribution, to go out and distribute books. And now as we come to December, some parts of the world, they'll still be doing it. Book distribution is still going on. Although it's quite different now, you know, we do have a lot of digital means to give books. You can give, everybody in Singapore can have the Bhagavad Gita easily, right? You give them the soft copy. So we have to adjust our preaching according to the time and circumstances. We try to distribute Krishna consciousness. In some places there's more obstacles, just like here in Singapore, you have some difficulties. There are some, you know, the government is not so encouraging in this, but at the same time, not too bad. Not so bad. You maintain your existence here. They don't allow you maybe to go out in the street to do Harinam, but that's not so bad. Somehow the preaching is going on, and that's the important thing. And we want to encourage all of you to keep preaching, and at the same time be assured that if you're engaging in the service of Krishna, that is transcendental. What makes it the mode of passion is when we're thinking, I am the doer. We put ourselves in the center, and then it becomes the mode of passion. So we want to be careful of that, and always remember, think of ourselves as being the servant, as being simply an instrument in the hands of Krishna. On book distribution and doing things like that, fundraising for the Krishna consciousness movement, it's very nice, and Prabhupada appreciated it, but at the same time, it doesn't minimize other kinds of service. Everyone is appreciated in Krishna consciousness. Everyone who is a devotee, who is faithfully practicing the principles, then they're all Mahatmas, they're all glorious, because Krishna conscious principles, they adopt the lifestyle of devotees. Krishna consciousness is in everyone. We just have to keep it alive. Stay alive, right? Don't let it go to sleep. That can happen, that you can drift away. We lose contact with the devotees. We get so caught up sometimes. The pressure of the work or the home, the commitments, other commitments are there, and it takes us a little bit away from Krishna consciousness. But we have to keep ourselves alive in Krishna consciousness. We have to constantly remember Krishna. So that remembrance comes when we're faithful to chant the holy name and to follow the instructions which Srila Prabhupada has given all of us. Just like we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, That's one of Prabhupada's instructions, that we should hear the teachings. We have to hear it regularly. Now, if you just hear once a week, that's not enough. We have to hear every day. And we do make that arrangements for people nowadays with all the mobile networks which are available. There's a lot of good opportunities for devotees to be hearing regularly. And many, many devotees are taking advantage of that, to hear. If without hearing, then we're easily vulnerable to the material energy. We have to constantly hear to remind ourselves, because we are conditioned souls. And one of the defects of conditioned souls is that we make mistakes. We forget. Oh, I forgot. I forgot to chant today. I forgot to do my puja. We easily forget. We have to be reminded. So this remembrance comes about when as soon as we see a devotee, as soon as we contact the devotees, then we immediately remember what our duty is, what has to be done. But as soon as you go to office, you go to work, then you forget. So very important is our sadhana, the morning program, to have some morning program. Up early in the morning, like today, this morning, devotees coming for morning program. Other people, they're sleeping late, they get up late, rest day, sleep late. But for the devotees, we don't have a rest day. Rather, every day is Krishna conscious. We wake up early in the morning, every day. We like to come to Mangal Arti. You go to Mayapur, I'm going to sleep till 10 o'clock and now I'm on holiday. No, you go to Mayapur, you go to the Holy Dham, you wake up early. You go to Mangal Arti, right? That is Krishna consciousness. We enjoy it. We take pleasure in the act of sage. Our day and our night is their day. We wake up early in the morning and we're joyful. We go to temple and the materialists, they say, oh, why you make so much noise? Why you disturb my sleep? Or they're coming home from the bar. Like that. We're going to temple in the morning, waking up early, taking shower, coming to temple, and they're going home from the bar. Different lifestyle. Their day is our night, and our night is their day. So, yeah, we're different. Devotees are different from the non-devotees. But we're not losing anything. Don't think we're losing anything. Are we missing out on anything? Oh, not at all. We're fortunate to miss out on what they think we're missing out. They think we're losing by not going to the bar, by not eating in restaurants, by not drinking alcohol. We're thinking we're so lucky, we're saved from these things. We feel sorry for the people who have to take pleasure in these things. We feel they're so unfortunate, they're so fallen. Srila Prabhupada was riding in a car one morning. He just come from the airport. The devotee had picked him up. This was in Australia, in Sydney. So this devotee told me how he was with Prabhupada in the airport. People were all going to work, and Prabhupada could see them all going off to work. And the devotee said, he said, I was sitting looking at, and I was thinking, oh, look at these poor fools, they have to work in the factory and in the office. But he said he looked at Prabhupada, he said Prabhupada had a tear in his eyes, and Prabhupada was saying, they're so unfortunate. So Prabhupada was feeling compassion for them. So people, of course people sometimes say, oh, you devotees, you don't have any fun, you don't have any pleasure, you don't have sense gratification. Oh, we do. We have the greatest sense gratification. We have the highest sense gratification. We have the pleasure of Krishna consciousness, chanting and dancing and feasting and serving, doing service for Krishna itself is our sense gratification. Just like one of the devotees from Singapore, they went to England to study, and she got the opportunity. They said every Friday you can come and make garlands for the deities. And she was so happy, oh, that I've been given this service, you know. This was the greatest pleasure for her, to be able to go and make garlands for the deities. Now someone else may think, oh, make garlands. Oh. They cannot understand the transcendental nature of that service, that it's a spiritual activity. But for a devotee, it's very pleasing, very satisfying to be able to make a garland for Krishna or for Prabhupada and to see it on the deities. You take pleasure in these things. Making flower vases to put on the altar. We don't have flower vases here, but some days, maybe on festival, decorate more. These are items of devotional service, and people take pleasure and you get great satisfaction from doing these kinds of activities for Krishna. But for non-devotees, they cannot understand these things. It's, what? Why you want to do that? What? They have no appreciation for the nature of devotional service. So we're hearing the danger, that there is danger in doing. One devotee, Rabindra Swarup Prabhu, there's a very senior Prabhupada disciple. He's a very scholarly devotee, and he has his PhD also in philosophy from Temple University in USA. So Rabindra Swarup, when he was taking up his studies, he was going to have to study books like Shankaracharya, the writings of Shankaracharya and so on. And he said to Prabhupada, he asked Srila Prabhupada, that, you know, Prabhupada, you've said that if anybody hears, if they even hear the teaching of Shankaracharya in the Mayavada philosophy, they'll be doomed. But he said, I'm going to study these things, I will have to read them and write about them and so on. So what should I do, you know? That you've said people who just hear it, they will be doomed. So Prabhupada said, yes, so you have to be careful. You have to be careful. In other words, you have to protect yourself. You have to keep yourself Krishna conscious. Just like Brahma is doing work, but in order to do that work, he prepared himself mentally. He did great tapasya for 100 years or more of the demigods. He did austerities, purifying one's existence to prepare oneself so that you don't get influenced by the mode of passion. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we read about different souls preparing for marriage. Before married life, they first of all go and do some austerity. They go off like the prachetas. Before they got married, they first of all went to do austerities. And the sons of Daksha, they were all sent to do austerity. Go and do austerity. After you are austerity, come back, we'll arrange the marriage. You can get married. And even today, in Thailand, you have the Buddhist people, the young man will go and live in the monastery. We become a monk for 6 months or something, or for a fixed period of time, a month, even 1 month, or 3 months, or 6 months, or maybe even 1 year. And then after he's been a monk, they'll come back, and then he'll get married. In this way, is brought out of the mode of passion, to avoid the mode of passion, you see. Purify yourself, do some austerity, and then you're more qualified to enter into family life. But if you're too passionate, then that's why so many marriages break down. That's why you have so much divorce, because people are so much influenced by the mode of passion, which degrades to the mode of ignorance. And so this is part of the ancient culture. This kind of mood of doing something like creation and creating progeny and so on. You want to have children, you want to have good children. There's a way to do it. There's the Garbhadan Samskar. And there's a process. People don't want to do these things anymore. Oh no, too much trouble, I'm not going to do. They don't understand the value. But great value is there. You want to attract a pure soul, there's a process to do it. And so Brahma, he knows the process. He went through the process. He did tapasya for a long time. And then now he's ready to create progeny. And the Lord is telling him, you don't have to worry, you won't be influenced by the mode of passion. So these are some points in relation to this verse. Are there any questions? Some question or comment? Yes, Prabhu?
Because there are no questions, taking a liberty, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you for the wonderful class. We actually went back to Mayapur, just listening to your voice. Sing Navadip Mandal Parikrama. So I just remember that every time I hear you.
Yeah.
Maharaj, if I can request you to share a few of your personal experience with Srila Prabhupada.
Well, I think I told them before, didn't I? Last week, didn't I? Anyway, generally the point I make is that Prabhupada said we should all read his books, because it happened that I got interviewed by one Mayavadi books, and so my head was full of all to me, and I didn't really know the philosophy well at all. And so I would often say things to him which I'd heard from other people and not from which I'd said into the article. And when Prabhupada read the article, he said, this is terrible. And he said, all of our devotees must learn our philosophy. He said, all of the devotees must read the books carefully, and they must learn the philosophy. It's very important for us. And so this is what we try to do. Read Prabhupada's books, and one way which I found very effective to read the books is to study them with the devotees. And it's very good. We have courses like the Bhakti Shastri and the Bhakti Vaibhav, and now we're doing also Bhakti Vedanta. So these classes are going on, and they're very helpful. Studying with devotees who are all interested to study Prabhupada's books. The atmosphere is very important. Sometimes in the morning program, some people are interested and some are not. Not everybody who comes to the morning program is so eager to hear. Sometimes they just, well, they live in the temple and they just come and they happen to sit down, and after class they know there'll be prasadam. So they're more interested maybe for the prasadam, but somehow they're there. But when you have a class, when you get everyone who is really eager to study, they really have a desire to study and to understand Prabhupada's books. And that atmosphere in itself is very conducive to picking up, to learning what's there in Prabhupada's books. That's important for us. Just like children, you know, if they go to school, sometimes they learn better, you know. If you just left them on their own to study, we don't know how much they'll study. But once they go to school, then they get more better. Well, we hope anyway, of course. Not all time, not every time, but sometimes at school it can be better. That other students are there and they're all studying together. So being with Srila Prabhupada is always learning, it's always educational. One morning we were on a morning walk and we were walking. Prabhupada always went for a walk in the morning. The doctor told him that he should go for a walk, Swami, it'd be good for you. So Prabhupada took the advice of the doctor. Every morning he'd go for a walk. So we'd walk somewhere. Sometimes Prabhupada liked to go to parks. Sometimes we would go in a car and drive to a park. So we were walking in one park in the morning and Prabhupada was watching. There was somebody sleeping in the park and the policeman came and kicked him, you know, get up. You know, you're not allowed to sleep overnight in the parks, you know. So the policeman was kicking him, telling him, get up. And Prabhupada was watching and Prabhupada was saying, see, he said, you see, the person has a home, but he's not staying at home. He's sleeping in the park. And the policeman is hitting him. He said, this is his misfortune. He's unfortunate. He's got a home, but he's not able to stay there. And then Prabhupada told us a story. He said about one time Lord Shiva was walking with his wife Parvati and they were approached by a beggar. The beggar came and asked some alms from Lord Shiva and his wife. So Parvati, she was compassionate and she wanted to give something. But Lord Shiva said, well, he said, what's the point to give him something? It won't really, it's not going to change his destiny because he's beggar. So Lord Shiva, in order to instruct his wife that you couldn't change destiny, Lord Shiva arranged to have a fruit, and within the fruit he put some valuable jewels. He put jewels in the fruit and then gave the fruit to the beggar. So the beggar then took the fruit and then immediately sold it for a few paisa. So Lord Shiva said to his wife, you see, he said, this was the destiny. The man is a beggar. You don't change people's destiny. So the same way somebody, the young man was in the park, but although he had a home, it was his destiny to be in the park and to be kicked by the policeman. So Prabhupada narrated this to us one morning. Sometimes Prabhupada would just chant, and other times, sometimes he would talk. Sometimes he would just like to chant. Okay? Hare Krishna. All right. If there are no other questions, then we will stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Jai Srila Bhakti Vighna Narasimha Maharaj ki jai.
Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki. What? A bhajan? Really? Okay, just we have some 5 minutes. We'll just sing Parama Karuna. Parama Karuna Pahu Trijana Nitai Gora Chandra Parama Karuna Pahu Trijana Nitai Gora Chandra Sabhavatara Sarashiramani Kevala Nanda Kanda Sabhavatara Sarashiramani Kevala Nanda Kanda Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudrita Vishvasya Kore Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudrita Vishvasya Kore Vishaye Chadiya Tera Se Mojiya Mukhe Bolo Hare Hare Vishaye Chadiya Tera Se Mojiya Mukhe Bolo Hare Hare Dekho Hare Bhai Tribhuvani Nai Emana Jaya Lajata Dekho Hare Bhai Tribhuvani Nai Emana Jaya Lajata Pashu Pakhi Jure Pashana Vidare Niyara Guna Gata Pashu Pakhi Jure Pashana Vidare Suniyara Guna Gata Samsare Majhiya Rohile Padiya Se Padi Nahi Lo Asha Samsare Majhiya Rohile Padiya Se Padi Nahi Lo Asha apana karamae banjaye samana kahe lochana das. Apana karamae banjaye samana kahe lochana das. Parama karuna pahudvijana nitai gora chandra. Parama karuna pahudvijana nitai gora chandra. Sabhavatara Sarasiramani Kevala Nanda Kanda. Sabhavatara Sarasiramani Kevala Nanda Kanda. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Harinam Sankirtan ki. I have some nuts to distribute. If anyone like to have some nut prasadam.